General Gu was young and charming, but he was forced to marry me, the useless princess. For 7 years of marriage, he treated me like a precious gem. Until the day of the palace coup, when he shot my elder brother, claiming the throne for himself. He made my maid his empress and degraded me to a slave of crime. The princess took someone else's husband. She should atone for her sins. That's when I learned that he and my maid had endured humiliation for many years. He truly hated me all along. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn to the day he triumphantly returned to the capital. For my 24th birthday, Gu Shiyu gave me the head of my elder brother. The most esteemed man in the world, his face was covered in mud, his eyes wide open in shock. He died with his eyes wide open, unable to rest in peace. Gu Lang, what is this? I staggered backward. Just as the head was about to fall to the ground, a hand steadied it and playfully brought it up to my face. Useless Xiao, your brother once cherished you dearly. To think you won't even allow him to meet you one last time, it's truly heartbreaking. Gu Shiyu looked at me with regret. I clearly saw the mocking and sneering in his eyes. Before he could finish speaking, a bright yellow cloak was draped over his shoulder. Someone appeared behind him, teasingly scolding. It's so cold. You've been rushing to deliver gifts to the princess and you don't fear freezing yourself. Gu Shiyu tossed the head aside. He lovingly embraced the woman who spoke. Sure, why are you here? You're weak. You should be resting. I collapsed to the ground, trying to pick up the head. When I looked up, I saw the woman's face clearly. It was Man Shuer, the maid who had grown up alongside me. I treated her as my sister. But I never expected. She had secretly been with Gu Shiyu all along. Why? I stared at Gu Shiyu in disbelief. All these years, my brother treated you well. For all these years, do you know how Shuer and I have lived? Gu Shiyu smiled coldly. Shuer was always meant to be my first wife, but because of you, she suffered so much. He snorted, the meaning unclear. If you love to take someone else's husband so much, then atone for your sins. Until Shuer forgives you, until you die. I suddenly opened my eyes. Cold sweat slid from my forehead, dripping onto my hand. Your Highness, what's wrong? Man Shuer anxiously shook my arm. Did you have a nightmare? Your face is as pale as if you've lost all your blood. I stared at her in confusion, still in her maid's clothes, not the phoenix robe she would later wear as empress. Man Shuer. I struggled to speak. What time is it now? Her eyes brightened. Your Highness, still Mrs. General Gu? According to the timing, he should be arriving in the capital tomorrow. I pretended to stay calm and nodded. Leave me. I want to be alone for a while. At this time, I was 16. I was still waiting for my General Gu to return victorious and marry me. When Gu Shiyu arrived in the capital, my elder brother would host a feast in the Golden Lawn Hall to welcome him. Gu Shiyu and I were childhood sweethearts, both secretly in love. My elder brother knew this. And so, he would naturally arrange for us to marry at the banquet. Thinking of this, I smiled bitterly. My elder brother was wrong. I was even more wrong. Who would have known that the one Gu Shiyu truly loved was my maid, Man Shuer, who had been by my side since childhood. At the celebration banquet, my elder brother gave Gu Shiyu a seat, right next to mine. While Gu Shiyu was toasting others, my elder brother winked at me. How is it? Does Changla still like him? I've heard that as soon as General Gu returned, he started sending gifts to your palace. I forced a smile and tugged at my lips. Gu Shiyu heard the noise and turned around, raising his cup toward me. May the princess's fortune be long-lasting. At 20, Gu Shiyu's every move was filled with youthful vigor. But in that moment, I thought of my past life. Man Shuer intentionally humiliated me, making me serve her tea. The boiling tea was so hot I couldn't hold the cup properly. I endured the pain, but still spilled 2 drops. Gu Shiyu was furious and knocked over the teacup. Serving her tea was already elevating you. You're so bold, daring to offend Shuer. Man Shuer leaned in his arms, smiling cruelly. Don't blame Xiao, Your Majesty. She was always served by me before,
Ah,
She covered her mouth, lowered her head, and smiled. Shuer misspoke. Please forgive Shao, your majesty. Reminding Gu Shiyu of the past was like pouring oil on the flames. That day, he stepped on my fingers, crushing them bit by bit. It seems you still don't know your place. These hands that can't serve Shuer might as well be broken. The past rushed over me like a tidal wave. I trembled, and the wine cup fell to the ground, shattering. Gu Shiyu still held his cup in the air. There was a brief moment of stillness in the hall. May you be safe and sound, a good omen. He drank the wine in one gulp, smiling dazzlingly. Princess, may you have peace every year. I stared at the broken shards of porcelain on the floor.
why?
If you didn't like me, why say these words? The next moment, Gu Shiyu lifted his robe and knelt. Gu Shiyu, am in love with the princess. Please, your majesty, bless us. My elder brother turned to look at me, and I froze. In my previous life, it was my elder brother who proposed the marriage, not like this. Man Shuer's face turned pale, her lips tightly pressed together. Man Shuer. I spoke calmly. What's wrong with you? She suddenly leaned close to me, whispering, Gu Shiyu's actions this time are rather reckless. I nodded and turned to kneel before my elder brother. Elder brother, I raised my head. I don't want to marry him. My elder brother widened his eyes in confusion.
Why?
Changla grew up with him. Don't you like him? You don't know, elder brother. There was someone else who grew up with General Gu, and I. Oh, my elder brother asked, curious.
Who?
Gu Shiyu's face turned pale. He looked at me in disbelief, opening his mouth to stop me. I took a deep breath and bowed. My maid, Man Shuer, has known General Gu since childhood, and their bond is deep. Please, elder brother, arrange a marriage for General Gu and Man Shuer. The entire hall was silent, so quiet you could hear a pin drop. The emperor's gaze shifted between me and Gu Shiyu, his eyes filled with shock. Ridiculous, he muttered in a low voice. Changla, your majesty. Gu Shiyu's voice rang out simultaneously with the emperor's. He wore a look of sadness on his face. I don't know what I've done to anger the princess. Please let me know. But today, with this, we only hurt ourselves. Please, princess, don't say any more. What a performance of deep affection. Your majesty, whether this is true or not, it can be easily verified. I mocked, a smile tugging at the corner of my lips. I turned to smile brightly and called, Man Shu, I have just one question for you. Was anything I said before a lie? Do you not want to marry Gu Shiyu? Man Shu glanced at Gu Shiyu, then quickly lowered her eyes. Gu Shiyu kept his head down, not looking at her. Your majesty. Man Shu bit her lip, her face pale. I come from a humble background, but the princess has shown me kindness. How could I dare privately accept favors from the one who holds the princess' heart? I only wish for General and the princess to live happily ever after. I would be content to serve as an attendant. Gu Shiyu continued in kind. I wish to grow old with the princess. I hope, your majesty, you will grant this marriage. The emperor's expression was one of complete confusion. He looked at Man Shu, then at Gu Shiyu, and then at me, his face full of bewilderment, as if saying, What on earth is going on here? Changla, stop this. The emperor sighed, trying to choose his words carefully. Do not let a moment of frustration ruin your future happiness. Let it be known. The emperor had watched Gu Shiyu and me grow up together. I had always been by his side, talking about wanting to marry Gu Shiyu. Such an image was hard to change quickly. He probably thought that we were just having a small quarrel, as we had in the past. He had always been willing to help smooth things over. I gritted my teeth. No matter what, today, this imperial decree granting marriage to Gu Shiyu and me must not go through. Your Majesty, I suddenly spoke, interrupting his words. I do have someone I love, and I respectfully ask for your permission to marry him. I pressed my lips together and looked around the hall. Everyone lowered their heads. Only one person, tall and upright, lifted his eyes coldly. Our gazes met, and I couldn't help but shudder. He wasn't bad-looking. It's him. Your Majesty. I pointed at him from afar. He lowered his gaze. I want him. The news of the emperor granting marriage between the princess and the junior minister of the court soon spread throughout the capital. When Man Shu came to find me, I was still thinking about events from my past life. If I told the emperor directly, he would never believe me. Gu Shiyu's father was a founding hero. When the previous emperor ascended the throne, the Gu family played a crucial role. Thinking of this, I frowned. In my past life, Gu Shiyu killed the emperor to give Man Shu a legitimate position. He murdered my brother and plotted to usurp the throne. In this life, I was asking for their marriage. That day in the Golden Hall, I saw it clearly. Gu Shiyu didn't want it and neither did Man Shu. Why didn't they want it? And why did the mighty Gu family suddenly change their minds? I rubbed my forehead, the headache unbearable. Since my rebirth, memories of my past life felt like they were behind a fog, faint and unclear. I couldn't make sense of it. Someone in white stood, lighting incense to honor me. The wind howled, but I could only make out one sentence. May we never forget, Your Highness. I must have forgotten something important. Your Highness. Man Shu's soft voice interrupted my thoughts. Today is the Lantern Festival, and General Gu invited you to join him. He's waiting for you outside. Let me help you get ready. I fiddled with the red nail polish on my nails. I already have an engagement with Master Pei, and it might not be proper for a man and woman to be alone together. Tell him I'm not feeling well, and I won't be going. Your Highness. Man Shu tugged at my sleeve, her voice anxious. General has been close to you for years. Your Highness, please. I looked at her flustered expression, and my gaze shifted. All right, let's go then. In the southern part of the city, the streets were filled with lanterns. I was lost in thought, staring at a rabbit-shaped lantern. Gu Shiyu, who had been silent up until now, finally spoke. I don't know what I did wrong to make you hate me so much. Could it be? Gu Shiyu fixed his gaze on me. Who has poisoned your mind against me? Or perhaps you had a bad dream? Of course not. I smiled gently. It's because I've fallen for someone else. As I spoke, he grabbed my hand. I silently pulled it back and looked up, smiling. I'm already promised to someone, and I asked the general to respect that. Chan Le. He was desperate. Do you truly like Pei? He said coldly. That man is ruthless, indifferent, and heartless. He's been in charge of the Court of Judicial Review for years, applying severe punishment, countless unjust cases. Why would you choose him? I laughed coldly inside. When it comes to ruthlessness, has anyone ever been more ruthless than you, Gu Shiyu? Gu Shiyu, you don't understand him at all. I replaced my expression with one of innocent sweetness. That day, when I passed by the great minister's temple, I saw him standing under the Bodhi tree, praying. His posture was elegant, like a celestial being. When was this? I thought for a moment. I don't remember exactly. It was probably during those years when you were away at war. Gu Shiyu stared at me in shock. So that's why you like him? Yes, I nodded with a smile. And now I'm going to marry him. Gu Shiyu, we've been friends for so many years. Don't you have anything to say to congratulate me? Gu Shiyu clenched his hand tightly. I could see blood faintly in his palm. Chang Lo. He suddenly called softly. The lights from the lanterns reflected in his eyes, and I saw tears flicker there. It seemed like he was really heartbroken. He hugged me forcefully, his voice trembling. You can't do this. You can't. At that moment, a cold voice rang out from behind. Minister Pei, Greetings to your highness. Gu Shiyu froze for a moment. Taking advantage of the opportunity, I slipped out of his embrace and smiled brightly at the newcomer. Fancy meeting you here, Minister Pei. Pei's gaze briefly landed on Gu Shiyu, then he nodded lightly. It is indeed quite a coincidence. Then, he stood between Gu Shiyu and me, remaining still, as if he had something to say to me. A thought crossed my mind, and I turned to smile at Gu Shiyu. Ah, I almost forgot. Man Shu caught a cold from the wind this evening, so I told her to go back first. Seeing Gu Shiyu hurriedly leave, I couldn't help but curl my lips. What deep affection. It was all fake. Your Highness, my apologies. I only heard a soft voice. The next moment, I felt a weight on my shoulder. I turned in surprise, and Peihi's white cloak was draped over my shoulder. He lowered his eyes, and with his distinct finger joints, he was tying the cloak's ties for me. I pressed my lips together. Thank you. Pei, he merely shook his head. It's nothing, Your Highness. No need for such formalities. I felt a little guilty after realizing. I'm sorry. I lowered my voice. What I said in the Golden Lawn Hall that day was nonsense, and I offended you. He gently murmured. Nonsense. Yes. I replied sincerely. It was said in haste. He did not respond. I sensed his expression growing cold, and hesitated before speaking. Are you cold? Would you like to wear the cloak for now? No need. He suddenly took a deep breath and stopped my hand. I just remembered some matters at the Ministry of Justice. I must return. I stared blankly at his retreating figure. Was the Ministry of Justice really that busy? Recently, Manchu had been acting strangely. She kept talking incessantly about how great Guxiu was in my ear. And she had been sneaking around with suspicious behavior. Perhaps only she thought she was hiding it well. This day, after I rejected Guxiu's invitation, Manchu disappeared again. I secretly looked up and exchanged glances with the shadow guard hidden in the rafters. This was something I had requested from my brother a few days ago. He was hiding very well. No one in the princess's residence, except for me, noticed his presence. 17, I whispered. Let's follow her and see what she's up to. Manchu had high alertness. She changed into a servant's outfit and slipped out of the princess's residence through the back gate. After winding through several alleys, she finally turned into a place. I stared at the golden engraved plaque for a long time without speaking. Chunfeng Building. On the surface, it was a restaurant, but in reality, it was the largest brothel in the capital. Manchu skillfully ordered a girl and arrogantly entered the room with her. Not long after, Guxiu, disguised, sneaked in as well. 17, I whispered. They're up to no good. Can we hear anything if we crouch by the door? 17 solemnly shook his head. 17 swiftly knocked out 2 serving maids who had gone in to wait on them. Changing into their clothes, he entered with a fruit tray. Put it down. The room was filled with smoke, and the courtesan in the outer room was playing the zither. Through a thin veil, in the inner room, 2 figures were entangled on the couch. Ah, you brother. The sound of birds chirping, a voice soft and beguiling. You mustn't forget our great plan. I perked up my ears and heard Manchu's soft voice again. You're not marrying her. You're marrying her identity, status, and power. His Majesty only has one younger sister. Marrying her brings us a step closer to restoring the country. I know you like me, don't want to part with me, but this is the best way. We are family. I listened in a daze. The zither music was intoxicating. My mind was in a haze. I want to restore the country. I must think of the bigger plan. We are family. I like you, don't want to leave you. Suddenly, 17 reached out and pressed his finger to my brow. It felt like a drop of water fell into my soul. I opened my eyes wide and met 17's anxious gaze. I clearly saw his lips move. Something's wrong here. I pressed my lips together, lowered my head, and was about to pull back. But the sound of Manchu's lazy voice came from the inner room. Whoever is holding the fruit tray, come in and serve me. 17 and I exchanged glances. My palms were sweating without my realizing it. The zither-playing courtesan flicked her wrist, playing the last note. I clearly saw a flash of cold light from her sleeve. It looked like a blade. Why are you so slow? Manchu said in displeasure. Hurry up. 17 gripped my wrist tightly. The next moment, the several maids in the room unsheathed their swords. Take them all down. The blades flashed, making my eyes hurt. 17 fought them off while shielding me, retreating towards the door. Your Highness, don't look. He covered my eyes. Everything went dark in front of me, and the rush of air filled my ears. 17 pulled me out of the window. A sharp beam of sword light followed closely. It rushed toward us. The sword light reflected in my eyes, and I saw the person holding the sword. Gu Shiyu. His eyes were clouded and lifeless, like a puppet being controlled. The sword came at us fiercely. No way to dodge. 17 blocked a strike for me. I was still injured by the sword's aura. A new cut appeared on my wrist. 17. I watched helplessly as he lowered his head and coughed up blood. I was frantic, like an ant on a hot pan, but had no idea what to do. Don't be afraid, Your Highness. He gritted his teeth, still protecting me, and countered with his own sword. It's almost done. What's almost done? I was confused for a moment. Then I heard someone shout loudly. Ministry of Justice is handling the case. All bystanders retreat. When Man Shu returned, I was sitting in the front hall, having my meal. She looked pale. Where did you go? I raised my eyes and smiled. I asked Chiang to find you, but no one could locate you. Man Shu pursed her lips and bowed. Your Highness, please forgive me. I caught a fever at noon and went to the pharmacy to get some medicine. I see. I stirred the peach gum bird's nest soup in my bowl. Then you should rest for a few days. Chiang will be here, so you don't need to attend to me. Man Shu carefully lifted her eyes. Your Highness, you don't look well. Did you catch a chill somewhere? I shook my head. I was troubled by a nightmare, and just got up to have some food. Out of the corner of my eye, Man Shu seemed to relax. After she left, 17 appeared. Did Minister Pei catch anyone? 17 shook his head seriously. There was a secret passage in the room, and those people escaped quickly. We didn't catch them. He hesitated before speaking. But Gu Shiyu. What happened? When Minister Pei and the others arrived, they only caught Gu Shiyu and a few people from the brothel. For today's events, the Ministry of Justice can only charge Gu Shiyu with the crime of consorting with prostitutes. I fell silent for a moment. There's still time. We'll catch the fox's tail soon enough. By the way, was there anything unusual with the zither music in the room today? The zither-playing courtesan was caught. She's currently locked up in the Ministry of Justice's prison. Under the cover of night, I went to the Ministry of Justice once again. By the time I arrived, Pei had just finished interrogating someone and was sitting in the hall, wiping his hands. I noticed the bloodstains between his fingers, hesitated, and spoke. About today's events. Your Highness need not worry, Pei gently interrupted, his voice calm. I will not let such acts of treason go unpunished. I pursed my lips. Has 17 told you everything? Pei gave a slight nod. I couldn't help but ask, do you truly believe it? Or are you just humoring me? The main culprits and their accomplices were still at large. The evidence was doubtful and the testimonies unclear. How could Pei believe everything based solely on 17's account? I held my breath, waiting for his reply. Pei lowered his head, carefully wiping his hands, and remained silent. The flickering candlelight cast a pale glow over his face, giving him an almost ethereal appearance. Those distinct, bony fingers, stained with blood, gave off a strange, unsettling aura. Suddenly, I remembered. Pei had a reputation as the jade-faced Yama in the capital. Now that I saw him up close, it seemed he truly lived up to it. I swallowed nervously. The silence in the hall made the sound of my throat swallowing unmistakably loud. Your Highness. Pei lifted his gaze to look at me, his expression as innocent and pure as ever. If I said I don't believe it, would Your Highness have me stripped of my flesh? He looked so dignified, but how could he speak so shamelessly? I clenched my teeth, my face almost frozen in a forced smile. Naturally, I wouldn't. Pei gave a meaningful, "Oh," and leaned in closer, smiling suddenly. I even noticed a small mole at the corner of his eye. I will always believe in Your Highness. He was so close. The flame of the lamp flickered, and I was momentarily dazzled by his smile, unable to regain my composure for a long time. My imperial brother.
He was teasing me.
I was pounding my chest and shouting in my mind. But then Pei suddenly leaned back, creating some distance. He picked up a teacup. "All right, Your Highness," he said, looking serious. "Let's talk business." I was speechless. How dare he play with me? He said that 17 was his man. The zither-playing girl had confessed. Manchu was the last surviving child of the previous dynasty's crown prince. The piece she played that day, called Forget Worries, could control the minds of others. Just as he finished speaking, the girl suddenly began bleeding from all 7 orifices and died on the spot. I suddenly recalled the confused gaze of Gu Shiyu when he caught up with me that day. Could it be that he had been brainwashed by Manchu? Had he become her puppet? If this is the case, would Your Highness forgive Gu Shiyu? He put down his teacup and carefully observed my expression. No. I shook my head. The day 17 and I watched clearly when Gu Shiyu entered. He was in full control of his senses. Whatever his reasons, he is not innocent. He clapped his hands together.
Good.
So, what is Your Highness's next plan? I stared at the bloodstain on my wrist. Keep an eye on Manchu and Gu Shiyu, but don't alert them. When the servant led Gu Shiyu in, I was in the courtyard playing chess with He. Changla. Gu Shiyu called softly. He stood silently at the side. He chuckled. According to our laws, addressing a member of the royal family by their name is a serious offense. Gu Shiyu choked, then awkwardly changed his words. Princess. I didn't look up. General, what brings you to visit me today? 17 had just reported back to me. These days, Manchu had been pretending to rest at home. In reality, she had been disguising herself as a servant and going in and out of the general's residence. The two of them had been busy either plotting rebellion or engaging in indecent activities. Gu Shiyu suddenly bowed to me. I have something important to discuss with the princess. Could the others leave? I put down my chess piece, smiled, and said, the general is an honest man. There's nothing he can't tell. Lord Pei is also a gentleman. General, speak freely. Gu Shiyu looked at me for a long time before turning his head to He. This matter concerns only the princess and me. I ask Lord Pei to excuse us. It wasn't until He's figure disappeared into the plum grove that I reluctantly withdrew my gaze. I heard the princess's wedding is scheduled for the 3rd of next month. Princess truly has no feelings for me? I propped my chin up, pursing my lips. Then I'll be straightforward. I don't like military men. Gu Shiyu choked. Why? I smiled sweetly at him. Military men are too flirtatious and don't uphold male virtues. I find them dirty. Gu Shiyu's shoulder trembled. Princess, you know about that? I nodded. Yes, General. Your involvement with courtesans is well known in the capital. Princess. Gu Shiyu grew anxious. That day I was drunk. It was truly unavoidable. I looked at him in feigned shock. Does this mean the general was framed? Gu Shiyu nodded sorrowfully, full of regret. I've been on the battlefield for years, and now that I've returned to the capital, I don't know who I've offended. What a show. I sneered inwardly. Then keep pretending. With your Gu family's high prestige, you've almost toppled my imperial brother. Who would dare frame you? I patted his shoulder in comfort. General, be more careful in the future. With that, I forgive you. Gu Shiyu looked at my expression and finally let out a sigh of relief. He tried to reach for my hand, but I silently avoided it. Is the princess jealous? I nearly knocked over the teacup from my unsteady hand, as I cursed in my past life. Why else would I want to marry Gu Shiyu? Gu Shiyu, seeing this, thought his guess was confirmed. He solemnly raised 4 fingers. Changla, I will never betray you. If I break this vow, let me be struck by lightning. I rubbed my finger, which had nearly been burned. That's not necessary. Gu Shiyu was greatly moved. Changla, I know you can't bear to. I interrupted him. Lightning strikes are the work of ghosts and gods. If that truly happened, there would be no such thing as heartless people. I'll change it for you. If you break this vow, I'll have you flayed alive and die a terrible death. After reluctantly seeing off Gu Shiyu, I collapsed onto the rocking chair. When I turned around, I found Pei. He was staring at me with a pensive look. Your Highness had quite a pleasant conversation with General Gu. It must have been exhausting. Why hasn't he left yet? I felt drained and defeated. He's right, though. This princess has been dealing with turmoil in the back courtyard all day. It's exhausting. Pei He sighed softly. Does your Highness find me troublesome? How could that be? I gritted my teeth and forced a smile, preparing to make up some nonsense to pacify him.
But Pei He stopped me.
Your Highness, do not worry. I will handle everything. He seemed to know what I was thinking. I already have some leads on the Gu family's hiding of the former dynasty's orphan and their plan to rebel. I will be your Highness's sword, ensuring your safety. I suddenly felt a sting in my eyes and nearly cried. I wiped my eyes and murmured softly, Pei He, why are you so skilled at comforting women? Do you already have someone you care for? Pei He paused, looking at me, as if he wanted to say something but didn't. As expected, I suddenly felt a bit stifled, as though a fog had formed in my heart. I lowered my head, no longer looking at him. My marriage to you, in the end, is my debt to you. After dealing with the Gu family matter, I will ask my brother to grant you and your beloved a marriage. No matter what, I will do my best to make up for you. Your Highness. Pei He spoke softly, sounding somewhat helpless. I raised my gaze. Do you not believe me? Of course not, he said, but when your Highness says you will do your best to make amends, do you truly mean it? Of course. I nodded. I always keep my word. Pei He smiled faintly. With your Highness's word, that will be enough. As the wedding date with Pei He drew nearer, Gu Xiu came to find me more often. I pretended to be swayed by him, changing my mind. I even pretended to agree when he asked me to elope. That day, I got him drunk and asked him, if I run away with you, what will happen to my reputation? Gu Xiu, intoxicated, joked, why does the princess care? His Majesty will surely silence the gossip. I expressed concern, but my brother is very strict about propriety. He didn't care at all, moving to embrace me. Once we've made the rice, His Majesty can't do anything about it. I avoided his actions and let him bump his head against the table. Gu Xiu, how do you truly view me? It was a long time before he replied, so long that I thought he had passed out from drunkenness. Then, I heard his response. Why? Why are you the princess? You should have your wings clipped and become my sole possession. Drunken words are true words. Gu Xiu, stumbling over his words, passed out drunk. I stared at him for a long time. I tried to find a trace of the young man from the past in him, but as expected, fate was unkind. I had to admit, before marriage, the image of that young general had already faded. On the wedding day, it was still the middle of the night when I was dragged out to be dressed. It was then that Gu Xiu sneaked into my room. He knocked out the maid and nurse attending to me. Standing behind me, he watched my reflection in the mirror. The phoenix crown and robe are truly beautiful, he said. But it's a shame. He sighed regretfully, pretending to be sorrowful. Such a splendid attire, but it's not for me. He asked, how will Changla compensate me? I glanced at him in the mirror. In my past life, I had spent whole nights preparing for him. Gu Xiu, you betrayed me. I inadvertently glanced at the beams above. That was where 17 hid. To repay you, I only have one way. I smiled and picked up the bridal wine prepared in advance. Let us drink this cup together, General. Gu Xiu didn't hesitate. Without thinking, he drank from my hand. Then he collapsed. Inside the cup was a large dose of sleeping powder. It was specially made in the palace, colorless and tasteless. Had I added just a bit more, Gu Xiu would have never woken up again. I knelt beside him and retrieved a golden key from his inner garments. 17. I caressed the key. Bind him well. When Manchu returned from fetching water, she saw the scene. Her face was full of terror. Your Highness, what is this? I smiled. I heard that when the former crown princess of the previous dynasty fled, she was already a few months pregnant. The world believes that child was the crown prince's orphan. But what they didn't realize was that the former crown princess had secretly been with General Gu, Gu Shiu's father, and had conceived that child. That's not all. To my surprise, the remnants of the former crown prince's faction actually placed this woman as a servant beside the current princess. I had always wondered why the entire Gu family had rebelled. Now, it made sense. Because Manchu was half a part of the Gu family. I raised my eyes to look at the pale-faced Manchu. How audacious. Am I right, Gu Manchu? Manchu turned to flee. I said slowly, since I dare to say these things in front of you, you should know. The plans you rebels made to restore the country are already beyond saving. He is already raiding the Gu residence. Manchu froze, then suddenly cursed in hatred. Impossible. She turned to run. 17 leaped to stop her, but I blocked him. I shook my head gently. 17, follow her. See if there are any other loose ends. Bring them back. The golden key I had taken from Gu Shiu opened a hidden door in the Gu residence. The soldiers who were searching the room saw racks of armor and long swords, and they collapsed in fright. The Ministry of War didn't even have this many weapons. The Gu family had hidden the orphan of the former dynasty and planned a rebellion. This was a shocking revelation to the court. Since he had uncovered this, he was the one fully responsible for handling it. General Gu was dead, and now the one in charge of the Gu family was Gu Shiu. When he woke up, he sat there in silence for a long time. Finally, he spoke one sentence to the prison guard. He wanted to see me. When I arrived at the dungeon, Gu Shiu was leaning against the moldy wall, resting with his eyes closed. I stopped about 3 or 4 steps away from the iron bars. Gu Shiu seemed to sense something and slowly opened his eyes to look at me. You've come. In just a few days, he had become much more haggard. His eye sockets were deeply sunken, and a few days' worth of stubble had sprouted on his chin. There was silence between us. Gu Shiu broke it first. You've also been reborn. I nodded. It's not too late to realize it before death. He covered his eyes and smiled weakly. Changlo, we have known each other for 2 lifetimes. Why speak so harshly? It hurts our relationship. I silently looked at him. Did we ever have a relationship? Gu Shiu became agitated upon hearing this. We were once married. I smiled bitterly instead of becoming angry. Married? Was it the marriage where you killed my royal brother and made me a worthless woman, a wife to the Shao family? Gu Shiu said reluctantly, I never intended to humiliate you. But Shua was your maid for many years, and she was unwilling. She is my sister. How could I let her suffer?
Ah.
I lowered my eyes and smiled. Speaking of her, I brought you something. I pushed over a brocade box. My gift to you. Why don't you open it and take a look? Gu Shiu trembled as he opened it. Inside were a pair of bloody women's hands. You, he looked at me in disbelief. Changlo, when did you become so cruel? I fiddled with the lacquer on my nails. To the victor goes the spoils. This has always been the way. Back in the day when I fell into misfortune, Manchu made me kneel and serve her tea. At the slightest wrong, she would pour boiling tea on my hands. And later, General, because I failed to serve well, you ruined my hands. Gu Shiu was speechless. You did this to me, but don't touch Manchu. Naturally. I glared at him. I will have you sliced into 1,000 pieces. As I was about to leave the dungeon, I suddenly remembered something and stopped in my tracks. Do you know that Manchu plays the Forget Worry song every day to manipulate your emotions? Gu Shiu was shocked. I sighed and smiled. Never mind. I suppose you enjoy it. It's just that seeing you being manipulated to death, it feels tragic. Behind me, Gu Shiu's heart-wrenching cry echoed. Changlo, you're rejoicing too soon. You think Peihe is a good man? He's ruthless, 100 times worse than I am. The day Gu Shiu and Manchu were executed by Ling Qi, I had another dream. The originally vague dream became clear. I recognized it. It was the scene after my death in the previous life. He led the righteous army and reclaimed the throne. He supported a young Shao family royal to ascend the throne. He imprisoned Gu Shiu and Manchu in the dungeon, torturing them every day. He also brought my memorial tablet back to the ancestral temple, offering incense and worship. Your Highness. Pei, he gently caressed my memorial tablet. The expression in his eyes still held a faint trace of the past. But decades had passed, and there were now white hairs at his temples. He covered his eyes and muttered to himself, "I came too late." I frowned and leaned in to look closely. Peihi's face showed traces of tears. Chang'e has not ended and will never be forgotten. May we, Your Highness, never forget. Peihi had kept vigil for me for 3 years. When the 3 years were up, he took his own life outside the ancestral temple. His blood soaked the peach blossoms. Peihi called out, "Your Highness," and quietly closed his eyes. He didn't even dare to look back at my memorial tablet. During this time, Peihi always avoided me. When I asked, I was told the Gu family case involved many people and the Dali temple was too busy. When Qiuyang, who was sent to deliver pastries, reported that Peihi had stayed at the Dali temple that night and would not be returning, I was so angry I almost crushed the teacup. How could this be? He was too busy to even meet with me. So, the next morning, I stormed to the Dali temple with Qiuyang. Peihi wasn't there. The servant hesitantly reported, only saying that Lord Pei had gone out again. I sat down in his place, frustrated. I couldn't get him to come, and I couldn't catch him. Why was he avoiding me? In my disarray, I casually straightened a few sheets of paper on his desk. A glance made me freeze. It was a few hastily written words. The long night fights for the indifferent heart. Spring comes, and the longing is already stained. After returning from Dali Temple, I ran a high fever. In my dreams, the same line repeated over and over. The long night fights for the indifferent heart. Indifferent, could it be me? I felt empty inside, slowly trying to understand. Did Peihi like me? I then thought of the peach blossoms outside the ancestral temple. Bright red like blood. A hand touched my forehead. Cool and soothing, I couldn't help but grab the wrist of that person and nuzzled my face against it. So cold. I sighed with relief. The person stopped moving. After a while, I heard his low voice. The peach blossoms in the imperial garden are blooming. The emperor has been thinking of you and has sent the best ones to you. I don't want peach blossoms. I was dizzy with fever. Hearing about the peach blossoms made my agitation grow. What does your highness want? Crane. I murmured with my eyes closed. I want a white crane. The hand in mine paused. It wanted to pull away, but I held on tightly. Don't go. Peihi seemed to smile. He asked, why can't I go? My eyes were swollen and aching, tears threatening to fall. I hugged that hand tightly, pressing my lips together, unwilling to speak. Your Highness, open your eyes. Peihi sat at the foot of my bed, his gaze calm. The white crane landed, transforming into a young man. He smiled faintly and patted the blanket beside me. I won't leave. I will stay with you forever. Peihi took care of me for 6 days. On the 7th day, when I recovered, Peihi disappeared again. I wrote a note and had Qiuyang send it to Dali Temple. Chang'e is not ended and will never be forgotten. In the evening, Peihi returned. Your Highness. He began with difficulty. Did you find out? I nodded. Peihi gazed at me for a long time. So, Your Highness is treating me like this because of guilt. I shook my head, speaking softly. It's because I like you, Peihi. What about you? When did you start liking me? Peihi's eyes trembled. He seemed shy and lowered his head. In the 3rd year of Yuan Chu, on the 7th day of July, at the great Shengwa temple during the prayer. I was praying under the Bodhi tree, and when I turned around, I saw you playing with the incense burner at the steps, your face serene. From that moment on, it became unforgettable. End.